Hi, everyone. I am Kelly, and this is Two Broads Talking Politics. I am on today with Simona Grace, who is the founder of Moms. I forgot how to say it. Moms in Office, the Moms in Office PAC. So we are thrilled to have you. Welcome, Simona.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you. So I want to talk some about moms running for office, what that would mean, what challenges they face when they do run for office, and then also some about just policies that would be great for working mothers if we had them in this country. So could you start by just telling me a little bit about Moms in Office and how that got started?
Sure. In 2018, I was following Katie Porter's campaign, and I was involved with an organization that was supporting Katie Porter. And I think it's important to mention to all moms who think I'm this, political junkie right now or political operator. I had no idea about politics before. And I mentioned that because I would like to encourage everyone to be politically involved and more politically active. You don't necessarily have to have a background. You need to have a passion for change, and you can do it. So I wasn't this person who was embedded in the political world. So as I was watching her campaign, and I became really inspired about her story and everything that she was about. I thought she was brilliant. But I also realized that she's having such a hard time as a mom not being judged, or as a mom convincing voters that she can manage her job as a representative to her constituents and raise children at the same time.
Yeah.
And I also realized that she would be the only single mom elected to Congress. And for someone like me, who's a single mom, it was very important that my voice is heard in our government, especially because of what we were experiencing as a country by 2018 during the midterm elections. So I became really inspired, and I wanted to be more politically active. I'm an immigrant to this country. I love America. I gave up my family in Hungary and my life there when I was 18, and I moved here not knowing English, not having any money, because I believed in democracy so much and what this country offers to immigrants and for all citizens. So by 2018, there was just like a fire that was lit under me, that I'm an American now. I've built my life here. I'm raising a son as a single mom, and I want to make sure that our democracy is here to stay. I want to do more. I can be in politics. It doesn't matter if I'm a single mom in LA who doesn't know anybody in politics. I can do this because I have a passion for change. And really, that's how it started on my kitchen counter. And the very specifics as to what Moms in Office is about and what I decided to do about this, I realized that congressional races are really expensive. For someone to run for office in America, not just for moms or women, for anybody who doesn't come from a wealthy background, or anyone who's not independently wealthy, it's almost impossible to run for office because you can't have a full-time job and campaign at the same time. And to win a congressional race on average takes about $1.5 million. So how are you going to do that if you're a single mom or a working mom or a person of color from a working class background? And I truly believe that we need the type of diversity in our Congress that we have in our country in order to see change take place for these communities who need change. So I really wanted to do something to raise money for political candidates who are moms. And at this time, there were no organizations at the end of 2018 raising money for moms running for office. So I literally one day sat down at my kitchen counter and I said, I'm going to register this domain. I'm going to teach myself FEC regulation and accounting. And I'm going to do what it takes because I want my voice to be heard in Congress, and I want to help these women get elected. So Moms in Office is a PAC that is dedicated to supporting and electing moms running for office, progressive moms who truly know the life of the American working family, the American mom, because I want this voice to be heard in our Congress. We need women in Congress, but we also need the diversity of women's voices in our Congress, and moms deserve a place there. So that's, my long-winded answer for you of how everything started.
Yeah, and so what sorts of races do you focus primarily on? Sorry, I've got a cat scratching in the room. This is the problem with live video. Do you focus mostly on congressional races? Do you look down ballot? What sorts of races are you looking at?
We are focused on mainly congressional races this year just because it was so important, but we do support women up and down the ballot. So this year we supported women from LA City Council to Congress, state, local races, state level races, and congressional races. And most of our candidates have been congressional candidates, but because it has been such an important election year for nationally, but we do support women at all levels of government.
Here's the cat who is scratching, in case anyone. So, what are the kinds of things that that moms, the perspective that a mom could bring? Like, it's hard for moms to run for office. It's hard for moms to be in office for all of these reasons. Why is it important? What sorts of things do moms do when they're elected that makes them an important voice to have in Congress?
So I look at, thank you, Kelly. This is a good question because I think it's very important because our backgrounds do inspire and inform our policymaking. I do look at moms in office from two different perspectives. And one perspective is we need these policymakers in office because they will accomplish certain policies for working families that they themselves have experienced. So they will prioritize these families. So in terms of moms in office, I look at it, why are we need these women in office? What are they going to do for working families? And why do we need these women in office in terms of women's political empowerment and making sure that our Congress is more diverse? So having moms in office does a lot of good for all Americans, but also for women in politics who are trying to achieve, gender equality, and we're so far away from that. So, in terms of policy, the United States remains the only developed nation in the world without paid family leave on a federal level. And I mean, no better time than right now to actually set this as a priority for a federal government. It's never been a priority. And if you take and look at where we are now, in the middle of an economic crisis, a health crisis, a racial crisis, we have 800,000 women in September who filed for unemployment, mainly because of childcare reasons. In comparison, only 200,000 men dropped out of the workforce. So childcare, paid leave, these are issues that are finally getting more attention. They should have been policies already in place. And if these policies were in place, we wouldn't have experienced this crisis at the level that we're experiencing this crisis today. We could have focused our efforts on mitigating the virus versus creating these policies as an emergency measure to make sure that American families are not starving and their children are taken care of. So in terms of policies, working moms like you and me and working moms around the country lived through these experiences of what it means to give birth when you have no access to paid family leave, when you could lose your job if you take a sick day and you don't show up to work because you have to take your daughter or your son to the doctor. And 1 in 4 women in America today return to work 2 weeks within giving birth. Because what's the other alternative? If they don't show up to work, they lose their jobs. We do have FMLA on a federal level, but it excludes hundreds of millions of workers who don't qualify within that range of employee size and so on. And who can afford to go on unpaid leave when all of a sudden you have another mouth to feed? So, these policies do not make sense in our country. And someone who has raised a child in the last 10 years knows that these are priorities for communities. And if we don't fix these issues, we're never going to empower women economically. We're never going to give economic justice for mothers. And we're never going to achieve a society that's equal when it comes to gender. So, I speak about this passionately, and all these women who are running for office, who are moms like me, speak about this passionately. And when they are elected, they are going to set this as a priority for their policy agenda. So in terms of paid leave, it's a huge problem. How come that one of the greatest countries in the world, America, one of the wealthiest countries in the world, treats women this way and does not prioritize family values? And, just talking about family values, how many times have you heard that mentioned in a presidential candidate's speech? I mean, everybody's about family values. We speak about it on the campaign trail with such excitement, but then our policy making does not show that same type of excitement or priority, right? So it just doesn't translate once they are elected. And we have about 25 moms in Congress right now who are raising children under 18. 535 members and less than 25 moms, that's 5%. And even when it comes to women, we have a little bit over 23%. Overwhelmingly, our Congress is still white, male, and independently wealthy. So we need to diversify these experiences. We need to elect leaders who actually lived those hardships and injustices that we want to eliminate. And quite honestly, I don't believe that we will see change unless we elect those type of leaders who lived through those injustices and experiences that should be policy priorities in our country. So paid leave, also childcare. I speak about my personal experience as a mom with my son. When I graduated college, I had over $36,000 in loans. I had a son that I had to put through childcare. And by the time my son was ready for kindergarten, I paid over $40,000 in daycare cost. Now, if I had public access to publicly funded preschool education, I could have paid off my college loans in full during that time that my son was going to preschool. And I'm not alone, with that experience. The majority of our student loans, over 2/3 of our student loans, are carried by women in this country. And most families have to pay, a third of their monthly income to send their children to daycare. It shouldn't be more than 10% of our income, or it should be for free. It should be, 3 and 4-year-olds should have access to publicly funded preschools like in any other country. And also equal pay for women. Today's Latina Equal Pay Day, and Latinas are one of the demographic groups who are experiencing one of the greatest discriminations when it comes to, and the greatest disparities when it comes to equal pay. 54 cents to the dollar. And if you look at Latina mothers, it's even less. It's 46 cents to the dollar. And Latina mothers tend to be more than half of the times the key breadwinners for their families. So, these women deserve justice. They deserve economic justice. They deserve to work and earn the same as anyone else and feed their families. We shouldn't be fighting so hard in this country for those basic things that we need to take care of our children, to take care of our families. So, economic justice for women and mothers is a huge issue for me. I don't think we talk about it enough. And it comes down to motherhood. Having a child puts you at a risk of filing bankruptcy. So we really need to fix these issues in our country. And that's why I'm so passionate that if we elect more working mothers, these issues will become policy priorities in our country. And, when it comes to gender equality in our government and politics, I break this down usually. Like, let's start at looking at it from the top, because everybody spoke so much about the fact that we've never elected a woman as president in the United States. But that comes down to our pipeline. And that comes down to women not getting elected and not starting their political careers early enough. Men start their careers in government in their 30s. So by the time they get to the point when they're 50 or 60 years old, they have all this experience. But we're not giving women the opportunity to gain that experience at the same rate as men, because women are told to wait to run for office until they're done raising their children, or they told to wait because it's not their turn, or whatever they are told. They're told no when they decide that they want to run for office. So, we have to fix the pipeline, starting from city council to state level elections to Congress, because women need to be able to gain experience at the same rate as men. So once we fix the pipeline, once we're able to get equal amount of women into those positions in our government, then most likely we'll have someone elected, or more likely that we'll have someone elected as a woman president. So, these are, in terms of equality and policies for families, these are my thoughts on this.
Mhm. Yeah, and so what are some of the ways that that Moms in Office helps people, women, mothers who are running for office? I think a lot of people sort of have heard the term PAC, don't really know what that means, what a PAC does. So what are the ways that you're actually, connecting moms, getting them resources that they need, helping them run for office?
Thank you for that question, Kelly, because I also did not know what that word PAC means just a few years ago. And I think we are more familiar in the raising funds and raising money in the nonprofit world, right? But in the world of politics, you have to organize as a political action committee, a certain political action committee, in order to give funds directly to candidates. So a political action committee, there's many different ones. There's PACs that are connected to corporations. There are PACs that are connected to labor unions. The PAC that I founded, Moms in Office, is a PAC that is based on an ideology that supports candidates and is dedicated to candidates who represent those certain policy beliefs that we believe in. And that's how we organize in order to give funds directly to female candidates, moms who are running for office. There are, 501c3 organizations are not allowed to make political statements. 501c4 organizations cannot make direct contributions. So we organize through the FEC, and this allows us to raise funds for women and give it to them directly. So one of our main activities this year has been raising funds for moms. And I'm very proud of the fact that we truly organized Moms in Office as a grassroots movement. We received thousands of donations that are small dollar donations, which is, unique to a PAC, because many PACs are funded by large donors, which is great. But I am especially proud of the fact that we put these funds together for these moms and women from donations all across the country, supporters who sometimes had an extra $5 or $10 to give it to us. And, we collected these funds and we selected those women in different states who we thought showed so much promise that to get elected and to work on these policies when elected. And we supported many amazing moms running for Congress, some great ones who are running for state level positions, even city council. So those are our main activities. And also, when I speak about a grassroots movement, I think it's always been super important to me that I'm very transparent about the fact that, look, I am not your usual politician. I am not your usual woman who or man or what have you, who has had years of experience and tons of money or access to money to do this. I am just a mom, an immigrant, a woman who believes in this country and who wants to make this country a better place. And that's all I had when I started. I didn't know so much about politics. And still until this day, I don't know so much about politics. But one thing I know is struggling and living through those injustices as a working mother. I know that very well. And I believe that's all you need if you want to be more active in politics and if you want to create more change for your communities. So I don't want women to shy away from doing something that they believe in just because politics doesn't look like us. Politics will never look like us unless we change that. So one idea that I had was to raise money for candidates. But the other idea was also to empower moms at home who really want to be more politically engaged, but they don't have the time or the resources, or they just simply don't know how to. So I really like to use our platform to also elevate the political power and the political voice of all moms at home, not just those who are running for office, and inspire them to stand up in their own communities for change. Because it's not about what I am doing or what Moms in Office is doing. It's about, taking a look at what we're doing and saying to yourself, I can do that because I'm like her. I'm also just a mom at home who has no idea about politics. So that was really important to me to tell women to, never question yourself, because everybody else will question you. So go ahead and do what you believe in, even if it has never been done before that way.
How do you decide which candidates you're going to endorse? What's the process that you use for that?
Thank you for that question, Kelly, because I think it's really important to talk about how that decision is made by certain establishment aligned organizations and how we make those decisions differently. To be quite honest with you, I wish I could help every candidate who's a mom and endorse every candidate who's a mom, because I've met some amazing women and I've spoken to some amazing women this year who inspire me until this day, that when these women, sit in the Oval Office or in Congress, will live in a better country. But mainly we decided to endorse those candidates who you have a strength in their convictions, who really truly represent what it means to be a working mother, what it means to struggle with not having access to paid leave, or being a single mom. Some of the women we endorsed have been single moms. Moms who will focus on those policies for children and mothers, like paid leave, but candidates who will also really put economic justice at the forefront. Because we need to remember, as activists and politicians, at all times who we speak for. And we speak for those who don't have a voice. And that's, my main responsibility, is to help so many single mothers in this country who are not as lucky as I am. But we should never call ourselves lucky that we work full time and we put food on the table, because those should be some basic rights. So, that idea and that ideology that I believe in, I think we look for that in many women. And unfortunately, there are not enough women's organizations in politics who support moms and women. And those larger establishment aligned organizations have done a lot of good in terms of helping women in politics. But they also have a set of requirements that candidates must achieve first before they even speak to them, such as raising $300,000 from their friends and family before they could be considered for an endorsement or an investment in their campaign. But these moms struggle with having wealthy friends and connections to corporate America. That's not what they are about. Yeah. They're reaching out to these very organizations for funding, but they're not getting it because they need funding before they can get it. So I really just wanted to change that. And when somebody calls me and we have an interview over the phone, I tell them, I just want this conversation to be between two moms who care about our country and who care about our children. So don't tell me about your fundraising. Don't tell me how much time you spend on call time. I care about who you are and what you will do for this country. And I really wanted to, to create change about how political organizations also help candidates. I do think it has to change. And I honestly think we need more of these organizations, because, not getting some of these big endorsements also hurts candidates, because then voters ask, oh, she's not endorsed by so-and-so, so why is that? But if we had, 10 large political organizations helping moms and women, it would be more likely that, these candidates will get help. And so the decision is holistic. I like to say, on purpose. I'm very intentional about, not making these decisions based on who is most likely to win, who raised the most money, who has the most connections to corporate America. It's about who you are and your integrity and your convictions and what you will do for your community.
So, speaking of integrity and convictions, you've been outspoken about your support for Joe Biden and what he would do for working moms, what sorts of policies he would enact. Could you talk a little bit about that and what you'd like to see a Biden administration, especially if they're able to flip the Senate and keep the House, what you'd like to see them do to really help working parents and working moms in this country?
Yes, I think that Joe Biden realizes that if we want our country to recover from this economic crisis, it has to start with working women and working mothers, because we are the ones who are bearing the brunt of this economic crisis. And he introduced his women's agenda in August, which is a $775 billion proposal to invest in policies that would help women and mothers. Some of his policy proposals are paid leave, for example, 12 weeks of paid leave on a federal level, uh, government funded free preschool, universal free preschool for 3 and 4 year olds, better childcare tax credits, increased childcare tax credits to help American families cover the cost of childcare and to make sure that they don't exceed a certain percentage of their income, more investments in infrastructure, child care centers, and so on. So we actually have more supply. And as you know, a lot of our child care centers are shutting down right now. We need to make sure that we have daycares available once our children are able to go back and we're able to go to work. So, some of these investments are essential for women to get out of this crisis, but also in the long term, for long-term policy making. And I think he understands the importance of not just solving this crisis, but making sure that once and for all, we give the economic justice to working mothers that they deserve. And when you look at presidential policy platforms, presidential candidates' policy platforms, we have never seen a progressive agenda like this one before. This is something very progressive, and if he's able to pull this off, we would definitely see a lot of change for women that would help, not just to get out of this crisis, but for us to really get to that point of equality where we want to be.
Yeah, I'll say when he first introduced the slogan "Build Back Better," I was like, I don't know, that seems a little corny. I don't know how I feel about it. But the more I've thought through, not just getting through the pandemic, not just getting through the economic crisis, but being better, building something out of that is better than where we started is really appealing.
Yes, he didn't introduce this platform until August. I really think that, which is, I'm happy about it and I'm unhappy about it at the same time, because during the primaries, he didn't have that platform in place. But what we have seen with him coming out with such a robust agenda in August is the fact that he listens to the needs of the American people. He saw something that was happening in our country and he addressed it. So I think his response to the crisis with that policy proposal is really reassuring for all of us that this is a president who listens to our needs. So, that's kind of my take on why he didn't introduce one earlier. I wish he did. But the fact that he introduced one really shows that he listens.
Yeah, absolutely. So, on a lighter, maybe not so much lighter note, you're a single mom of a 10-year-old, I believe he
Mhm.
is. How do you balance? Do you have any life hacks, tips for people about how you balance everything?
I don't.
Yeah, same.
I mean, I would lie to you if I told you that my day goes by like so great, and everything is always in place and I have a schedule. I don't have a schedule. I do everything at the same time at all times. There's many balls to juggle, and sometimes some of them drop, and I make sure that the most important ones don't. And and I think it's important for all moms to realize that, you know what, we cannot do it all during normal times. So don't set the bar so high for yourself right now, because these are unprecedented times and there's no way that you can do it. So I kind of graciously accepted the fact that sometimes I parent and work well on any given day, and sometimes I just don't. Most importantly, like, I like to be there for my son when he needs me, and I drop anything that I'm doing when I know that I need to spend more time with him. And when I know that he needs me to be there. So, this week there are certain things that were urgent because we are 5 days away from the election. I ended up not doing it because my son wanted to have movie night. And, this is also a hard time for him. Kids are going through so much and they don't have a way to express it or talk about it as eloquently as some adults, right? So I think that sometimes it's okay to like drop certain responsibilities. The world's not going to end tomorrow because you don't send out an email, and just put the phone away and spend time with my son. I think that's the hardest thing for me, is to just get rid of my phone, like leave it in the other room, turn it off, and make sure that I'm present in the moment. So yeah, I don't balance it, and I'm really honest about the fact that I don't. And I don't wash the dishes every day. I think that I have certain days when the dishes get washed, and that's just fine.
Yeah, I think have grace with yourself is the the best possible advice for this. Yes. So is there anything else that you wanted to make sure that we talk about today?
I like to make sure that everyone goes and votes, because if we look at our voter records or our election turnout, 56% of all eligible voters voted in the last presidential election, and women's votes can decide this election. So I think that I want everyone to understand that you have to vote. There's so many ways that you can do it. Don't be overconfident in a win. All of us need to get out and vote. So that's the one thing that I like to mention, is to make sure that you get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I put in the chat, in the various live feeds, the link to the Moms in Office website, and we'll also, of course, put that on our website. So if you go to the website to look at the live stream, this will also go out on our podcast feed as an audio if people prefer audio. So thank you, Simona. This was really fun, and I am so excited to office. I think it is just absolutely crucial that we do so.
And thank you so much for having me and everything that you're doing. I've been following your show for so long, and I was just so excited to come and talk to you. I'm always excited to talk to moms, and especially you. So thanks for everything that you're doing.
Thank you. All right. Well, we're going to head out, everybody. But if you like live shows, be sure to check out the Two Broads Talking Politics Electorette Mueller, She Wrote, a big election night live show starting at 6 p.m. Eastern on election night and going until either we have a result or we collapse, one or the other. So we'll see you later, everybody.